There is nothing in the world like playing in a symphony orchestra. The beauty, the power, the majesty. And for that to be your job, to get paid to do that, well, that could happen to you. But first, you have to prevail in one of the most unforgiving, unmusical, humiliating, lonely, and frankly terrifying experiences for any musician, an orchestra audition. An audition is just you, your instrument, a few really difficult pieces of music played out of context without any support from anyone before a panel of judges that you can't even see. Now, to those judges, you are just a number. And if this is a good job you're auditioning for, you're a number among very, very many. Today, we're filming the French horn players with NYO Canada in their placement audition to determine who will play first in which pieces this summer. But this audition is being run the same as any professional audition. The players will play a few very difficult, very exposed pieces. There's no chance to do anything over again, and they're going to be judged in their efforts by a panel made up of this year's teaching faculty. And that panel cannot see which player is which.
Next candidate, please.
Our candidates today will play two excerpts from Brahms' First Symphony and Tchaikovsky's Fourth. And first up is hornist and composer from Edmonton, Alberta, Terran Plamondon. Taran, how'd you feel?
Not too bad. I actually feel quite good about that. It certainly wasn't perfect, but I feel like I kept my composure throughout, and that's something that can be really difficult to do in an audition situation.
And what do you think the jury will say?
Well, there was a couple note blips, but I don't think they're going to focus on that necessarily because, I mean, they're brass players, so they understand that to some extent. So we'll see.
All right, let's see what they say.
It struck me in this performance of the Brahms by Taran that it felt like he was in the orchestra to me. Like I really felt like he was engaged in the orchestra with his colleagues and not just playing a snippet of music, but actually there in the symphony.
Yeah, I just wish that he'd prepared the first note a bit better. The first note is, for me, the most important note of the phrase, and he kind of rushed into it. He took a breath and then he played, but the breath wasn't really part of the phrase, and I think it upset the evenness of the flow of the wind for the phrase and the intonation and so forth.
Yeah, it sounded like Brahms' First Symphony, that's for sure. But we have to address timing, tuning, and tone in any excerpt we play. And I feel like he needs some work on the timing. That first dotted quarter wasn't quite long enough. And the tuning, I felt like his descending intervals weren't bang on. And finally, his tone just needs to warm up and open up and relax.
Yeah, the tone quality will improve the intonation as well, of course.
Fleur Rousseau comes to the orchestra from Montreal. But for the past year, she's been living in London, England, where she's studying at the Royal College of Music. After Flo's audition, we used a tablet to show her and the jury a video of her performance and captured their reactions in real time. Jury, what do you think of that?
That was absolutely lovely. I mean, you probably heard me breathing with you on those phrases. It just felt so natural and beautiful. Thanks. Beautiful.
I feel like that was at a professional level. I think that's a very beautiful interpretation of that solo from Brahms 1.
And I thought it was very well paced. I think you could have maybe used a slightly more crescendo in the middle of it, just to make it sound a bit more, lonely,
Definitely.
sense of longing. But otherwise, it was very well paced.
Thanks.
The shine on your sound is just beautiful. It's lovely.
Okay, well, let's hear the Tchaikovsky. So that's a big moment. How does it feel seeing that?
Good. Great. It's juicy.
Jury, how crucial is a mistake like that?
It's a funny thing, you know, missed notes is part of being a horn player. And I think that if the rest of the excerpt had been done really, really well, I think that could have been easily overlooked. But one thing I like to say about auditions is you have to play beautifully, never ugly, and find the character. And I feel like you just went over into the kind of ugly territory of the horn, and I felt like if you had played the whole excerpt back 10% and it still missed that note, I think it could have been easily overlooked.
But one cack is certainly not going to disqualify me. That's it. Exactly. If the rest of the character and musicality and tone are there that you're trying to convey, one little blip is not going to kill it.
I made a mistake once.
No.
All right, let's get Taran back in. We still haven't heard Taran's Tchaikovsky. Come on back, Taran. Okay, jury, what do you think of that?
In terms of volume, you have to always think about producing a sound that's musical on every note. So when you add volume, you must also add tone and sing every note. I thought the articulation generally from top to bottom was very good, but there were just a few things that slipped away from you.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I appreciated the fact that you smile after every excerpt, because like you said, to set yourself up in a positive vein, because we're actually doing the same thing for you on the other side of the screen. We're pulling for you. Before you even start playing, we're thinking, maybe this will be the one. Please tell us your story. Let you be the one.
The job of the auditioner is to keep the heart and soul in the music making, to keep the great music great. And that's what the committee will hear.
The reason we were here was to make a decision about who was going to play first horn on the big pieces in this year's summer season. So do we have a decision, jury?
Well, while Taran played very well, and you could tell he prepared really well, I have to say we went with Flo this time.
Mm-hmm. It's unanimous, gentlemen?
Yeah.
We chose Flo over Taran because her playing had precision. Her rhythm and her intonation and her sound were just all there. Whereas Taran, it sounded like he needed more work in these areas. When the audition committee hears the player that they want to hear, when they hear the music coming from that player, with the precision of intonation, rhythm, and sound, they're able to stop listening critically, to enjoy the music and put their pencils down.
So there you have it. An audition is maybe 10 minutes of your life that could change everything or keep it exactly as it was. There's only one way, really, to make any sense of it at all, and that is always to keep going. During the NYO Canada 2016 tour, on the basis of these auditions, Fleur Rousseau played first horn in Leonard Bernstein's Symphonic Dances from West Side Story, with Terran Plamondon playing third. But Taran also saw the premiere of one of his pieces for the orchestra's brass section that summer. At the end of the season, both Flo and Taran returned to their studies, armed with inspiration, experience, new insight, no doubt, a little humility, and at least one more audition under their belts.